So my bike was stolen. Hello everyone, my name is Sebastian. I started this YouTube channel back in 2014. I consider myself to be a somewhat active person, so I thought it would be cool to document and share with you all my bike adventures and creative ideas. My first video I posted 9 years ago. It was made with a GoPro I found, and it was just me riding bike at Key Biscayne in a Nairo Quintana Movistar kit. I wasn't very serious about my YouTube aspirations until about a year ago. I began to put more effort into my videos. I was working on the Matheson Hammock series, and during this time period, my bike, the main bike I was using on this series of videos, was stolen. Since the Matheson Hammock series part 2 was meant to be the next video to be posted, I lost all motivation and put all my YouTube projects on pause because I didn't feel like working on something that reminded me of the bike. So I moved on to other personal projects, but deep down inside I've always felt guilty for not having posted a proper video on YouTube in almost 1 year. But I'm over all the sadness in regards of the bike because I found the bike. Yes, I was able to get my bike back. So on this video, I will be telling you a brief story of how the bike went missing and how I was able to recover the bike. I will also be sharing with you tips and procedures on what to do in case your bike ever goes missing. You can maximize chances of recovering your bike. So here's how I came across the bike. I found this bike about 6 years ago on OfferUp for $75. It belonged to a gentleman who had been the one and only owner up until then. It had always been kept indoors, so it was in great condition. The frame had barely any scratches, the paint was very vibrant, the pink highlights around the logo were still visible. You could tell the bike was barely ridden because the chain and cassette had no wear at all. However, the tires were all dried up, and overall the bike could use some fresh cables. So I took the bike over to RB Cycles in Coconut Grove, and here my friend Javier Barquero, also known as El Foca, he helped me tune it up and installed the new Panda Racer tires, tubes, cables, and housing. I took the bike home, and to be honest, I still could not see it for what it was. So it would sit mostly in my backyard under a tarp until one day, David, my roommate at the time, who is crazy for mountain bike and gravel riding, he mentions to me, "Hey Sebastian, this bike frame will make a great gravel bike." But at the time, my mind was on crit racing, and I really wanted a crit bike to train or whatever, but life had other plans for me because that never happened. I did get the crit bike and I did start my training, but then my interest started to shift more towards adventure riding. And then was when I understood what David meant. So I began to plan the build. I went online, and while I was looking on eBay for 7x3 road shifter options, I came across the Shimano RSX, which is to be believed the early stages of what is today Shimano Tiagra. I went ahead and messaged my good friend Gerson from Biker Plus and asked him if this shifter combination would work with the bike's current Dior LX group set. He said he wasn't 100% on it, but it could work. To be honest, this was my main concern on the build, but I was pretty positive myself that it will work because everything Shimano 7 speeds and up seems to be very compatible no matter how old it is. So I went ahead and ordered the shifters along with the new handlebars and took the bike over to Gerson's house for him to help me with the conversion. We took off the old handlebar and stem, switched them to carbon fiber road handlebars and a low rise stem for a more aggressive aerodynamic posture. The Shimano shifters went right in, and they worked flawlessly. We matched the bike frame with the neon blue handlebar tape I had gotten at the Bike Tech warehouse sale event. For tires, we left on the Panda Racers 1.75 tires I had installed the first time because I thought they would be efficient. I wanted the bike to be fast, but they weren't the best match for this type of bike. Months later, I realized that the best match for this bike would be the thickest tires I could possibly find, but ran at a low PSI. So I was now on the market for new tires, and sure enough, I found them, nice and blue. These tires are a key element in this story. So overall, the bike was very fun to ride, and the fact that it was all neon blue was very hard to miss on the street. How the bike went missing was my fault. We live in a small apartment, and a bike takes up a lot of space, so the truth is that I got too comfortable with leaving the bike outside, unlocked by the front door. One day I was in my room working on something on the computer, It was late in the evening when all of a sudden something reminded me of the bike. Then it was like a chain reaction of thoughts that led me to think, hey, I don't remember seeing the bike outside last time I stepped out to feed the cats. I sprung out of my chair and went outside looking for it, and sure enough, the bike was nowhere to be found, inside, outside, or in the building surroundings. The bike was gone. Immediately, I called my local police department to file a police report. An officer called back and the report was filed over the phone. After the report was filed, I felt a bit restless, so I designed, printed, and posted flyers in my area outside of bike shops and busy intersections, in hopes of someone calling back with news or any information. Also, I wanted to let the thieves know that I was looking for my bike. I shared the flyer on social media and also sent it to some cycling YouTubers. Most ignored me and left me on red, but one wrote back. He said he didn't think it would be of any help for him to share my flyer because we didn't live in the same city. Oh well, hey, I was just doing everything in my power to get my bike back. About 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from the police department. They wanted to close my case because they had assumed that the bike wasn't worth enough for them to continue with any further investigation. And the reason for this was because I had not provided enough information about the bike. On the night they called to file the report, all I said was 1990 Trek single track gravel modification. And I think that what wrong the most to them was the 1990 part, so they assumed it was an old clunker, which it actually kind of is. So now it was up to me to make a list of parts I had purchased along with all modifications I had done to try and give the bike more value. And it worked. They went ahead and assigned a detective on the case. I was so relieved they didn't just drop the investigation like that. But 7 weeks had gone by and still no signs of the bike. In my heart, I had already let the bike go, but one day I hear a Facebook Messenger notification from my desktop computer, which is very rare because I'm never on Facebook. It was a message from Rydell Deed, founder and organizer of the Miami bike scene and Miami Critical Mass. He was one of the many people I had reached out to when the bike went missing. I reached out to him in particular because he does a repost program for stolen bikes on the Miami bike scene website. The message from Rydell Deed was a screenshot from AuthorApp of a blue Trek single track. At first I thought this can be it because on the picture the bike had cruiser racer bars, and in my head the picture I had of my bike looked nothing like that. But then I spotted the Parser decal on the frame and my neon blue tires. This was my bike. Immediately I thought these fools switched out the carbon road handlebars to some steel razor bars and were not even able to figure out the anti-theft skewers I had installed. And the reason I say figure out was because the key to unscrew and remove the wheels was inside of a pouch I had with tools on the top tube, sort of like a gas tank bag. Anyways, I called the detectives and forwarded the screenshot sent from Rydell, and they were off to get the bike. But the most ironic part in this story is you won't believe who had the bike.
This video has been brought to you by iSwim Academy. For over 40 years, iSwim Academy and Coach Nick have been serving the communities of South Florida, teaching adult and children of all ages and abilities. iSwim Academy offers private or group lessons, your pool or ours. iSwim Academy also specializes in competitive swimmer training, lifeguard services, and snorkeling lessons. Call 305-456-0518.
The bike was being sold at a bike shop nearby, which I'm not gonna mention the real name. We're gonna call it Mickey Mouse Bike Shop. Or as we say in Miami, Mickey Mouse Bike Shop, because it was more of a chop shop than a bike shop. But now we have to go back a little bit. About 3 years ago, my friend Lucia mentions to me that she has been looking online at electro bikes. And when a friend of mine shows interest in getting into bikes, I get excited. So I thought it would be a good idea to surprise her with an electro bike. So I go online looking for one, but back then it was mid-pandemic. The world was shut down, nobody was producing anything, and most new bikes were in back order. So I go on OfferUp, and here was my first interaction with Mickey Mouse Bike Shop. They were selling an electro bike for a very good price, and they were also near my area, so I went to look at the bike. And when I get there, my first impression of the place was that there were no high-end bikes being sold here. All bikes were used Frankensteins with mismatching parts. They also sold other things like motorcycle parts and even had a dining set out on display for sale. However, they did have a good deal on bicycle tires. They had MZ Miami tires, which are bike tires made in Miami, and they come in different colors, so yes, the blue tires on the Trek had also been purchased from this place. On this day, I bought the blue tires for the Trek bike. I bring the Electro bike home, and days later I show it to Lucia. Immediately, she notices something's off. Most parts had been switched out and were of lesser quality. Also, the rims and tires did not match. It seemed like the bike had seen better days, and she didn't feel comfortable riding something that might have been stolen. She wasn't wrong. Also, she mentioned that she was just looking at him. She had been considering getting a bike, but realistically, she did not have the space for a bike at the moment. And also, her building did not have access to elevators, so bringing a cruiser bike up and down the stairs would be an issue for her. So I gave the bike away to someone who was able to put it to good use. When the detectives arrived to Mickey Mouse Bike Shop, they walked in and spotted the bike in the middle of the showroom displayed for sale. They told the dude working at the counter that they were there to take possession of a bike that had been reported stolen and it was being sold at their shop. They point out to the bike, and the guy working hands over the bike to the police and asks if they were in trouble. The detectives replied that there is no evidence to incriminate the business directly, so they will not be facing any charges. However, it will be on the report that the bicycle was recovered at that shop. At this moment, they were in possession of my bike. And then looking around the shop is when they noticed my blue Cell Italia saddle on another bike. And then my blue pedals also on another bike. So they mentioned that these parts are also on the report and they asked them to put them back on. I went over to pick it up and it was like a dream come true. Even though I was a bit bummed out about the handlebars and shifters, I was very happy to have this bike come back to me. I remember on my way home, I was riding my road bike while holding onto the Trek on my right hand, holding it by the stem. And to those who would stare at me for riding with two bikes, I would yell at them, "I got my bike back!" I honestly felt like Charlie Bucket running home with a golden ticket. Anyways, I started to ride the bike with the setup they did, and to be honest, I was enjoying the flat bar setup a lot, but at the same time, I felt a lack of self-respect to be riding the bike as the thief set it up. So little by little, I've been buying parts and changing things on it. So let's go check out the bike and see what it looks like today. Alright, so there she is. Check it out. Here I have installed this blue handlebar and stem combination along with this blue bell. It's not the loudest because I crashed the bike. I think it looks alright. Then here I have installed this cheap computer from Amazon. It works quite well for what I use it for, which is to know how fast I'm going. It is cable routed, but it was $10. And the sensor, it's cool because it only has to pass by it only one time and it'll tell you the exact speed you're going. Unlike the Cat Eyes app owning the pads that it has to go like 3 times and then it'll make a calculation of how fast you're going. Here we see these are the Shimano ST-EF51 shifters the thieves put on, probably from some bike that was left outside, because look at how dried up they are. But I left them on. These are my old cables, they didn't even change them. They're still on, they're very long, but I haven't changed them because I haven't been sure on what type of setup I want here yet. Here, this is a headlight I bought. I installed it with some rubber bands and it works fine. It was cheap, it was 2 for $14. If you were to buy just one bicycle light on Amazon, it's like $15. So there you go, you get 2 for the price of one, and it is USB rechargeable. So if we go back here, we see that they spray painted the rear rack along with the bottle cage, I guess to accentuate the white on the frame. So I liked it. So I got these white grips to match everything. And also they hooked me up with this old cantilever brakes that they're not old, I mean they're new, but this system is old. They hooked me up with these brand new Shimano cantilevers, which I'm very thankful for because I needed them. And what else can I tell you? Oh look, here is my Cell Italia saddle which the police helped me get back, along with my blue pedals. And I have this triangle bag on it to bring stuff with me, like small stuff. Like right now I have my camera and some camera gear in there. It's very useful. I've overheard people that they think this is an e-bike because of this, but no, I am the engine. I no longer have the blue tires because they were old and they didn't, yeah, it was time for new tires. So I got these from eBay. They were cheap. They're Gumwall Classics. This is a cruiser bicycle threading, and they don't last very long. They're low TPI, so they're kind of bouncy and squishy. Look, you can see how this thing went in them. Oh no, here in the back they are done. I have a new pair at home ready to be installed, but here you can see the fibers coming out. You can see the air. But yeah, oh, also I have a trailer hitch right here for my trailer. I thought I'll show you guys that. And if you see my water bottle from Ross, my Nike water bottle with the Parse decal on it. Yeah, that Parse decal got me the bike back. So yeah, there it is, the Blue Trek. Even though the police didn't have enough evidence to incriminate the shop owners directly, I do believe that Mickey Mouse Bike Shop sponsors criminal activity in the area by purchasing bikes from criminals with substance abuse problems to then switch parts out on the bikes in order to make them somewhat functional and resell them. How do I know this? First, the Electra bike I purchased from them. Second, they had no affiliation to any major bicycle brands or suppliers. Third, there are no new bikes being sold here at all. All bikes sold here are used bikes. Like, where do you get so many used bikes from? And fourth and last reason for me to think they are part responsible is that right behind them is a trailer park known for drug trafficking, prostitution, theft, and all other types of criminal activity. So I strongly believe that these thieves focus on the area around the university, targeting students who get around by bike. And they know that most students are young and from out of state, and most of them don't end up going to the trouble or filing police reports. And if they do, unless the bike is worth some money, the police is most likely going to drop the case, as I told you earlier in this video. So it is very hard to prove them guilty directly. One thing I should have done though was to go on the Nextdoor or Neighbors app and make a post saying, if you've had your bike stolen in this area, go see if you find it at this bike shop. It would have been the only way to get the police to notice a pattern of theft taking place in this shop. So here are my recommendations on what to do to maximize chances of recovering your bike in case it gets stolen. And the first thing I recommend is for you to right now go up to your bike, if you haven't done this already, flip it around and take a picture or write down the serial number found under the bike near the bottom bracket. And keep it in a safe place for your records, because without this number, it's very difficult for the detectives to match the bikes if found. Second thing I recommend is if the bike has gone missing, file a police report immediately. Call your local police department and be sure to provide them with as much information as you can about the bike, along with a most recent picture of it. The police report acts as a receipt of mishap. It's not like the police will drive around with a picture of your bike glued onto their windshield looking for it, but in case a bike like yours shows up, or even if you find it yourself, it provides evidence that the bike indeed has been reported missing. If everyone was to file a police report for every bike stolen, it will be easier for the police to notice patterns of theft taking place in your area, and a proper police watch can be set in effect. After you have filed your report, the third thing I recommend for you to do is to make a digital poster or flyer. It doesn't have to be the most professional one. Just find the most recent picture of your bike and write a description. On the description, be sure to mention unique characteristics that would stand out about the bike, along with your contact information. Then ask your friends to repost it. You can also print a few of them if you like and post them in public bulletin boards or places of high traffic. Be sure to ask for permission though, don't be like me. In the end, it wasn't the paper flyers what got me the bike back, but by reaching out to a friend. To design the flyer, you can use Instagram stories if you don't have design software. On my flyer, I put a QR code that will direct people to a YouTube video in case they wanted to know a full description of the bike. Now, you don't have to do this unless you're crazy about your bike like I am about mine, and I will link the video below if you're interested. To have something taken from you sucks, especially when it's something you rely on every day. But to overthink things, it's also not a very good thing. You start to get in your head, and that's not a very good place. So one thing that helped me to let go was, even though that I don't know anyone personally that uses their bike every day like I do, I truly hope that the bike would at least go to someone who would put it to good use, and this gave me peace. I had to get used to walking to places I would usually ride my bike to, and I was even looking into putting together a new workhorse bike. Lucky no more than 2 months went by before I got the bike back and I didn't have to buy yet another bike. So with this being said, put it in God's hands. Understand that you've done everything in your power. You've done more than most would have. So now it's a matter of time, and if it's meant to be, it'll come back. I mean, here's my bike as testimony. What God writes in stone, no man can erase. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, hook your boy up with a like. And if you enjoy this type of content, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing some interesting bike and kayak adventures. We're going to be building some interesting kites. We're going to be releasing something that I've been working on forever and ever, which is Biscayne fishing adventures. We're going to be going on some really long bike rides, exploring and fishing remote places, maybe even some camping and bikepacking. Also, we're going to be doing some fishing and survival challenges, so stick around. Again, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next video, and remember, don't be a Mickey Mouse.